Yet another member of the galaxy had emerged from the eternal void and presented itself for conquest. In the far-flung corners of the backwater parts of the galaxy's rim, a scout party encountered a human warship. The humans, known as the Terran Union, were foolish and naive, much like the rest of us at the very start, and gave an invitation to join them. This did not end well. Humanity had exceptionally small territory and very limited fleets, having only left the cradle some 5 decades prior, an entire lifetime for them. They only had a smattering of 6, maybe 7 total systems within their local cluster of about 40. The galaxy's initial response was curiosity. Mostly. Humans were so excited to see someone else in the universe, they sent far too much information to anyone who would listen. Metadata, comms traffic data, homeworld location, everything that would be considered a national secret considering current times, they gave out freely to anyone who would listen. Or at least, anyone who they could find. How lonely does a race have to be to do something so naive? Well, it didn't matter. The galaxy had hundreds of denizens, hundreds of varying species. The grapevine, as humans call it, did what it always did. The first few races that found that information, or contacted them, kept the information secret. The more arrogant and violent races decided instead to distribute that information, or use it for future operations. The information disseminated through the galaxy, and within a galactic month, around 3 human months, most, if not all, of the galactic community knew of humanity. Some races concealed certain bits of information, such as homeworld location, either for honorable reasons or for political leverage. Others outright sold the information to larger empires, or used it as a negotiating tool. The galaxy did what it always did when encountering a new face. Figure out what it is, where it is, and is it worth exploding, enslaving, or enthralling. And the entire galactic community effectively came to the same conclusion. Humans were magnificent. The information drizzle started small. Humans basically started with their own basic information, biology, homeworld class, biome information, etc. Then various empires got into contact and recovered more intel. The more we knew about them, the more we wanted to know about them. A Death Worlder species, in itself extremely rare. Only 5 of the some 200 races in the community were Death Worlders, and of those 5, only 1 had an empire of any reasonable quality, and even then they were vassals to a much larger empire. Strength, muscular density, intelligence, and survival instinct made them prime candidates for almost any empire's military or industry. Mammals, a very common type, but they had no breeding season or cycle. Humans, although small in empire, were massive in number, with upwards of 20 billion individuals. This meant 2 things: a robust, or at least better than average reproductive system, and a much faster breeding cycle, which meant their numbers could be replenished easily. This made them prime targets for slavers and pirate organizations, sometimes even larger empires for use in military or industry. Humans also caught the eye of the more, shall we say, blasphemous species. Their genetics were above anything the galaxy had encountered. Multiple phenotypes, different mutation cycles, spontaneous genetic manipulation based on environment. Humans had the perfect template for cloning operations. Humans had the perfect genetic template for some of the more isolationist species, due to their breeding habits and genetic compatibility. Some humans even had various psychic abilities, which intrigued a lot of other races. Human appearances were also something valuable in its own way. Human eyes formed some of the most beautiful patterns in known artistry. One of the most famous pre-federal artworks was a work known as Galaxy, in which the now famous artist Grek Katharn Yuk painted his own variation of a human eye. Humans supplied so much material of their own biology, and photographs of their eyes. Those eyes became the centerpiece of a new artistic renaissance. Paintings, sculptures, and other artworks of humans became commonplace and celebrated, due simply to their unique construction. Human eyes, female breasts, male muscle structure, and so much more became the focus of a new galactic artscape. An artscape now worth trillions, and still growing. Again, the more we knew about them, the more we wanted them, and they were so eager to meet us. They effectively handed themselves over on a golden plate, and by the end of the first cycle of information, everyone and his grandmother wanted a human, in whatever way they could get one. It wasn't 2 months after first contact that the first fleet was assembled. The Katanaki laid claim to them, and they even sent almost everything they had, a fleet of 2,000 ships and an army of over 5 million men, the single largest war fleet deployed since the Great Dying back in the 7th era. They wanted a monopoly, and as per the norm, it was first come, first served. Humans became a highly valued and desperately wanted commodity. The Katanaki were going to be the first to claim it. The fleet left Katanaki space and managed to worm its way through various border corridors due to sheer size and strength, and because they moved so fast, no empire was able to intercept them. The Katanaki used basically every ship they could muster, leaving their home empire highly vulnerable, but the strategy they had in mind was sound. Use that fleet to secure human borders and human space, the largest and biggest fleet to secure the galaxy's now most sought-after resource. Then hold that resource hostage. They wouldn't need to secure their own borders if they could hold the galaxy's greatest resource to ransom. While everyone was discussing negotiating, they could gradually replenish their fleet numbers, and by the time it was necessary, they would be able to hold their own again. By the time the fleet entered the respected borders of Terran space, it was far too late for any form of retaliation or revenge. The other empires were too slow in securing borders or relaying information. Within a galactic standard week, the Katanaki had crossed half the known galaxy, and 6 empires to secure their position. They announced their intent, their location, broadcasted a message to the galaxy and prices for the galaxy's slave networks, and announced a hasty but solid construction of a defense network within a week of their arrival. Then, silence. Complete, total silence. From proudly boasting they were going to be the wealthiest species in the universe, to total, dead silence. The broadcast stopped after the 3rd day. Then nothing but quiet for a solid week, or 1 human month. Then another month of silence, not only from the Katanaki, but also the humans themselves. 1 month after that, it was still silent, but now nobody cared. The Katanaki had been quickly subjugated, and the empire was now gone, taken over with almost no effort by their closest rivals, the Saranai. Another empire on the southern flank of the galaxy, a race known as the Umbukudo, attempted their own invasion of human space while the galaxy was distracted by the Saranai invasion. Again, initial boasting after gaining a foothold, followed by dead silence for a full month. 2 more invasion fleets were sent in, only for their transmissions to suddenly end, and the airwaves to be empty for the next few days. The Umbukudo were quick to change tactics and begin defending their own borders and retreated, revealing they had encountered some unknowable monstrosity that wiped out half their effective navy. Their enemies were quick to take advantage of this fact, and they lost a quarter of their holdings in the coming days to rivals. 6 more empires within the first galactic year attempted their own attacks on human space, only for the ships to enter, then vanish days later. Humans then spoke to us for once breaking the silence. They showed a single photograph with the caption, "Last warning. Stay out." That photo sent the galaxy into a state of collective horror, for several reasons. It was a photograph of a starship debris field. Thousands of wrecks, ship debris, and corpses floating in the void, with the human colony world barely visible in the background. The most striking feature of this was a human warship in the foreground, with the shattered remains of the galaxy's greatest, largest, and most powerful dreadnought floating behind it. It had been split clean in half. In terms of armament and size, it didn't look like much, but the damage it caused was clear. Clearly the galaxy had vastly underestimated this species' capabilities, and 2 empires had paid dearly for it. 20 million casualties had now been recorded since the first invasion, and with over 8,000 ship losses on record, humans in their short time had caused more destruction than the last 2,000 years of warfare. Did this fact stop the galaxy from trying? Of course not. Now the simple humans had an air of mystery about them, a sense of wonder and amazement. Collectively, the galaxy held its breath when 3 empires, the Amora, the Kokoi, and the Harbinger species, all announced a collective effort to combine their fleets and build some new dreadnoughts. They exclaimed that one way or another, humanity would be a part of the community. They cited racial differences, accounting losses to such a piffling species to be the result of corruption, nepotism, and poor management, resulting in bad tactics as a reason for their losses. Then the launch day happened, the day that left the galaxy in a state of humiliation, and also revealed the deadly secret. The Death Worlders not only had teeth, they had claws too, and they sure as hell were willing to use them. The day it happened, the entire galaxy was collectively watching. So were the humans, apparently, as the largest, most advanced piece of starship technology was unveiled in its dry dock. Tyrachus, the Grand Emperor of the Amoran Empyreate, began a speech of bloviating nonsense, as all politicians do. Then he stopped mid-gloat as he noticed the telltale figure of a human cruiser-class warship, gently floating in the void near the edge of the fleet formation. Jagged edges, black and blue paint scheme, large forward-facing railgun and side engine nacelles. A very old and long-abandoned design concept by galactic standards. It stuck out like a sore thumb. How did it get there? Why didn't anyone notice? How long had it been sitting there? Nobody knew, but it was far too late. The ceremony descended into panic as the humans pressed a button of some kind or something. Thousands of radar signatures suddenly appeared on every ship in the visiting fleet. A moment of panic, a moment of realization, a moment of, oh bugger. The human ship vanished. Cloaking tech, very powerful, very potent cloaking tech. That was their secret. All realized it far too late. Ships began to move. Then some kind of strange detonation occurred on the side of the dreadnought. A bright, small, blinding flash like a laser blast. Then a massive blast wave that was so thin, but so potent, emanated from the explosion. The blast wave sliced clean through the void for 3 miles, cutting not only the dreadnought itself, but the entire dockyard, and a full third of the assembled fleet clean in twain from impact, like a gigantic plasma knife. Moments later, any ship that had registered a signature detonated from a small tactical nuclear device that was mounted on its hull. The fleet stood no chance. When it was over, the human warship approached a stricken, but still active ship, part of the broadcasting crew, and sat in front of it. It stared at us for a moment, then vanished from radar, then vanished from secondary sensors, then vanished from sight, then vanished from the star system. That explained everything. Everything. Not only weapons of mass destruction, such as the devastating power of nuclear bombs, weapons that had been outlawed for centuries, but also this new weapon that could cut entire fleets clean in half. And now, the means to actually deliver those weapons of mass destruction that we had no defense against. Not only full cloaking from electronic devices, sensors, and other equipment, but also immune to visual identification. Humanity quickly became a ghost, a ghoul, a demon. But it didn't dissuade the galaxy from trying. Pirates and slavers attempted raids. Some even succeeded and acquired some humans from fringe colonies. Humanity responded by detonating several thousand nuclear warheads on those pirates' birth worlds, or launching their own surprise retaliation raids on pirate ships. Empires attempted negotiations, some even trying to bargain. Any empire that had too big of an ego had orbital dockyards and patrolling fleets suddenly go missing. Emperors and leaders suddenly disappeared from their quarters on their homeworlds, only to reappear as freshly hanged corpses in human space. Humanity, not only with its resolve, had effectively handed the galaxy's tyrants their own asses, but also guaranteed their place in the coming hegemony. Humanity had spent the better part of the last galactic year systematically humiliating the galaxy. But it changed nothing. The more humanity wanted to stay alone, the more we tried to get them. The mystique of such a species, the artistry of their appearance, the strange construction of their ships, and even their lifestyles became a deep topic of conversation. The politicians, having suffered nothing but loss, had all but given up on the human matter by this point. Now it was only the common folk who spoke openly about them. The art community very quickly picked up the slack, and any and all intel on humans, especially photographs of them, became highly sought-after commodities. The singular photograph of a human eye, a beautiful, soulful green color became a prized relic that sold for millions. Digital reproductions were available, of course, but the originals had some serious value for the fidelity and detail. When the politicians and warmongers had finally buggered off, the rest of the galaxy could finally breathe. With war now no longer an option, we could work for real things. And so, here I am, on the barest edge of human space in an old, rented-out clunker, on a mission that redefined the rest of the course of history. My cargo hold full of as many relics, artifacts, and reproductions of artworks and cultural heritage I could find by bribery, theft, or purchase. My purpose was simple. I needed to make art as part of commissions for some of my own clients. I needed the inspiration for it and a model. But my reference material I could find had already gotten so valuable it was above my price range. My thought was that now humans weren't being attacked. Maybe we could talk. It wasn't easy to get there, but I carefully wound my way through the debris fields that still existed in human space. I knew I was already being watched. I could feel 100 eyes at least on me. Things in here had changed. Most smaller pieces of debris had congealed via magnetism or gravity towards larger chunks of ship, which were now coated with several layers of scaffolding. I wandered about in a relatively clear area, near one of the said scaffolds, where the humans were likely stripping parts and reverse engineering whatever they found. This would make their tech even worse than it was. I trembled a bit. I opened the broadcast channels and said hello.
Greeterlings, my name is Kruxkran of Clan Ulm. I am not here to cause any trouble. I am here with a cargo hold full of, well, art, for lack of a better term. I am here because I am an artist. I need material for some clients, and models for some commissions I need to complete. I will do my best to compensate for any services rendered if I can. May I come in, please?
I breathed deep. I now had their attention, and I knew I had a few hundred more eyes on me. A proximity alarm sounded, and then another. My ship lurched as I felt something impact the hull. Docking procedure in progress. Please hold, my ship computer said. I was docking? What? Okay, is this good or bad? Before I could consider that question much longer, I heard an intruder alarm. Before I could consider that little issue, I had a swarm of Terrans flood into my ship. I had guns aimed at my face before I could think, and at least 50 of the creatures in my ship in less than 6 seconds. I was held at gunpoint for a minute or so. Then they all calmed down and started wandering around.
Okay. Hello to you too?
I said. An officer, clearly an officer, judging by the fancy uniform, appeared on the bridge. Yeah, hi. Sorry for the rude welcome, but after the crap we've been through, we don't take chances anymore.
Fair enough. So, yeah, my name is Kruxkran. Just call me Crux, I suppose. I know you humans like to use easier names and such,
I said, managing to settle back into a safe stance. The humans were a lot shorter than me, though. I had to lower my posture a bit so as to not alarm them. Slug alien thing? That's a new one of the soldiers said.
Well, not a slug, but who am I to argue? So with that out of the way, may I show you my cargo?
I asked. Sure, but what exactly can we trade for it? The officer asked.
You, or more accurately, pictures of you. Humans are the heart of the art community at the moment. We all really like you,
I said as I squelched towards the cargo bay. We noticed, several soldiers nearby said simultaneously.
Well, yes. Anyway, humans are... well, there's no real way for me to explain this, so I'll just say it. Humans are beautiful. The art community has something of an obsession with it. We are running out of reference materials to use, so I'm here to get more. In exchange, I have artworks, archives, reproductions of some of my species' cultural artifacts, and other such relevant stuff. You give me use so I can take pictures and bioscan data. I will give that stuff in exchange. Is that fair trade?
I said, opening various containers and noticing how the humans were avoiding my slime trail. Sure. Don't know why, though, but okay. The officer said and followed me into the cargo bay. These humans were about to make me the most absurdly wealthy artist in the galaxy!